Well, let's bring you more on the breaking news this hour. Former British soldier Daniel Khalife, who escaped from Wandsworth Prison, has been found guilty of spying for Iran. Shaman Freeman-Powell is at Woolwich Crown Court. And Shaman, just take us through the charges and the verdicts.
Absolutely right. This trial has been ongoing for more than 7 weeks. The jury had been deliberating for more than 7 days, and today the verdict has now come in. Daniel Khalife has been found guilty on the first 2 counts. So there are charges contrary to the Official Secrets Act and charges contrary to the Terrorism Act. Now, he had always denied the 3rd charge, which was perpetrating a false bomb hoax at his army barracks, and the jury decided that he was not guilty of that 3rd offence. As I say, this has been a lengthy trial, a very detailed and complicated trial. Prosecutors had accused Daniel Khalife, the former British soldier, 23 years old, of having spied for Iran. Now, Khalife had admitted that he had passed on information to Iranian agents. He had said during this trial that at one point he was told that he would never get a job in the intelligence service because of his Iranian heritage. He had said during the trial that this is why he had contacted Iranian agents over Facebook. He said he wanted to be a double agent. He wanted to prove his skills and how useful he claimed he would be to the UK's security interests. He had claimed, though, that all of the information that he had passed on to these Iranian agents were fabricated and therefore were mostly useless to these Iranian agents. But today the jurors coming back with a guilty verdict, saying Daniel Khalife was guilty of having spied for Iran. It has been a lengthy trial. Daniel Khalife took a deep breath in before hearing what the jury thought about these charges, and of course he has been found guilty on 2 charges but found not guilty on the 3rd charge, which was perpetrating a false bomb hoax.
And Shaman, his defence was that the information that he had passed to Iranian sources was not useful, was fabricated, but the court heard that it could well have endangered the life of Nazanin Zaghari-Ratcliffe, who was still being held in Iranian prison at this point.
That's right. At one point during the trial, Daniel Khalife stood on the stand giving evidence and under cross-examination by prosecutors. At first, the prosecutor made the point that actually Daniel Khalife could have potentially put the lives of these Iranian agents at risk, as well as some of the details of information that he had forged, claiming to be information about monitoring services that was going on with these Iranian agents. Now, at that point, Daniel Khalife questioned why the prosecutor would care about the risk that was posed to these Iranian agents. But it was the following day that the prosecutor made the point that actually it could have also have had an adverse impact to negotiations that were ongoing with the case of Nazanin Zaghari-Ratcliffe, because it was around the months that the UK government had been entering into negotiations. It was a very tense diplomatic effort to try and return Nazanin Zaghari-Ratcliffe home. Daniel Khalife had forged documents claiming to be a representative from UK officials, pointing out that the UK officials would never negotiate with what was described as an enemy state or a hostile state, with the prosecutor pointing out that at that point the UK government was indeed in negotiation with this state, trying to get Nazanin Zaghari-Ratcliffe home. So that was used as an example, a key example of how that could have potentially put her life at risk.
And Shaman, in his defence, he gave evidence, didn't he? And he told the court that he loved his country and that he was a patriot. The jury clearly didn't believe him.
What was quite bizarre about this case is the fact that Khalife himself had actually informed the UK security services about what he had been up to. It was back in 2019. Khalife was only 17 years old at the time. He'd only been a member of the British Army for around a year, having signed up at 16. After a short time of having contact with these Iranian agents, he had accepted a certain sum of money and had indeed informed informed MI6 using a contact form to tell them what he was doing. He had contacted MI6 on 2 occasions, the first of which being in 2019, shortly after making contact. Now, in his defence, Khalife had said during this trial that no one from MI6 had gotten back to him. And it was actually a few years later when contacting MI5, once again informing them that he had been in contact with these Iranian agents. It was on the second contact made to MI5 that they then started to investigate. Khalife said that he wanted to prove his skill set. He wanted to prove that actually the fact that he had this Iranian heritage could work in his advantage and the advantage of the UK security services. But when MI5 received this information from Khalife himself, they didn't recruit him. Instead, they contacted the police, and in a joint investigation with MI5, the security services and the Metropolitan Police, Khalife was arrested. And today, the jury has found that he was guilty of having spied for Iran.